John Thomas.
John Thomas. Well, number 2.
Oh, man.
Number 3.
Joey.
Number 4. Okay. Give somebody else a ring. Number 5.
Me.
Oh, no one guessed number 6. Who's this?
I got Barry.
It's Barry.
Barry, I got number 6.
Number 7. This is Buddy. Buddy was Uncle John's son. Well, John Rowe. Who's number 8? Barbara. 9. Jack Waddell. 10. There she is. Beck. 11.
John Murray.
John Murray. 12. Mike. I got it. Okay, I think it would be helpful before we kind of go into some of our stuff to just do like a family introduction group. So Frank, starting from number 1. Yes. So we're going the 7 kids. So the first one was Sissy, Jessie. So there's Joey and you, and then introduce your family this year.
This is my lovely wife, Sharon. My granddaughter is Ashley. And my daughter is Jennifer. My son is Brian. Those names, and my grandson, Nick, who is not here today, he's in the Navy and getting ready to be deployed somewhere. We don't know yet. But the names we picked up with Jennifer and my son Brian. I have a cousin named Brian, and I named him. I was going to name him Brian Peter, but he got named Brian Thomas.
That's good.
Absolutely. Jennifer was named after her aunt. Her aunt is Lorraine, and that's her middle name, Jennifer Lorraine. And Ashley is named 2 names, and hers is Ash Lee, L-E-E, because her father's middle name is Lee. And I was named after a Lucy and a Barentine. I was named after Frank. Right there.
Granny Womack's husband.
Granny Woman's husband. And Norton was my father's mother's last name. Her name was Della Norton, so they named me Frank Norton. That's how we got the name.
My favorite cousin is Becky. My favorite cousin is Becky.
Okay, and your big brother Joey.
My big brother Joey. Joseph Orson Lucen Jr. They call him J.O. J.O. Jr. or Joe or Jr. And I don't think he was ever called Junior. So,
And his daughter is Joellen.
Joey.
Uh-huh.
And he was named after Daddy.
Yeah.
Joseph Orson Sr.
And Joellen is his only child.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And she has a daughter, Addison.
Addison.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. Okay. They live in Florida? They're in South Arkansas. Yeah. Okay, the second child of Nanny and, was he called Papa? I mean, he died obviously before any of y'all knew him, but Papa. So, okay, we're gonna call him Papa. Nanny and Papa
Okay.
was Uncle John Rowe. And John Rowe had one son, Buddy,
Well, his real name was?
Garion Baber.
Boy,
Yeah, exactly.
I never more heard that, I'm flying to Europe.
But that's Aunt Babe's, that was Aunt Babe's maiden name, Baber. Yeah.
I think we need to find.
That's pretty cool right there. I call him Bud.
Okay, then the next child was Nora Sue, and she died when she was 3. But she was named after Papa's first wife, Nora, that died when these kids were growing up. We'll get there in a minute. Okay. Okay, so then comes Uncle Jay. So, Barb, you want to start?
I'm Barb and I'm here. I was named Barbara Kay after, actually from Arkadelphia, Barbara Bethay. Bethay family from Arkadelphia, so that's where my name came from. I have 2 daughters, Jennifer and Paige, who shall not be named because they're in trouble for not being here. But other than that, I have 4 grandchildren. Do I have 4? 3? Yes, we've just adopted a new baby, so I used to say 3. I have 4 grandkids, and I am in my 35th year as a school administrator, and I have signed my contract for the next 2.
Go, girl.
And this is my little brother.
Okay,
And
John.
he doesn't know where he is. He's flying to Europe.
The John Alexander, the John was Papa's name, and Thomas, I mean, Lord Jesus. And Thomas was after my grandpa on my mom's side. And I've got 2 daughters, Robin and her husband Adam, and the other one's name is Kelsey, and she ended up in Amity, which Uncle Bobby used to take me to Amity, you know, some and stuff. So she's in Amity. I've been 68 years in one town, and coming to Hot Springs was a pretty good deal to me today just to come over here. I'm a homeboy. Always happy, and I love Jesus. And I've said this, I'd love to thank everybody that did all this, but to me this is a miracle of God that we can all be together. Some of them I don't know or heard about, but I just thank God for this going on. Because, I mean, come on now, I got 3 grandsons, and my granddaughter is Kelsey's daughter, and 14, 13, 11, am I right, Robin? And 7. So I got them all, you know, and I'm so thankful to be here. I just am. I said I wasn't gonna cry, but thank you, Jesus. You know.
Okay, Becky.
And I'm the baby of friends. And I moved to Arkadelphia when I was 18. And so I don't know anybody. And when they talk about people, I'm like, Mariana, we grew up right there together. She's a little bit older than me. But we were inseparable, and if you look at pictures of us, we dressed, we did
I'm Jean, I was named after, I don't think I'll forget anyone, I forget his like name. Mike was the third much younger, or almost kids until he started doing this. He surpassed me, I think he got it up in second grade. So for that, he was good for twins. He lives in St. Augustine, Florida, has most of his life in Florida. I guess he's getting there for 4 years. And he got married when I was up today, and everybody else was married. So, my dad was James Carroll. No, he was named James Calvin, I think, in the he was like Calvin or he was like Stewart, I don't know which. But he didn't like that name, so he changed it to James Carroll. So he signed everything James Carroll, so I'm like Jean Carroll, so we haven't had it. But I'm not sure he really is. I need to find out, but that's what he did not know about.
Did you know everybody called him Uncle Baldy?
And you know, that's so you know, when that hair was done, you know, shaved his head, and then he did it just for his sister day, and so and everybody.
I thought it was when he was in CC camp, they all had to get a haircut. Him and John Rowe were in the CC camp together. John Rowe. Well, that was the story that I heard, that he got shaved while he was in CC camp.
You know how gossip goes, how that guy goes, by the time he wears like, and he is, yeah. The story I heard that Uncle Jay shaved his head.
Good, okay.
And I don't know if it's true, it's just a story.
That's what my neighborhood is, this story, yes. They have something.
Okay, this is from Uncle Baldy's mouth. This is, Ma saved this from March of 1984 when Uncle Baldy was retiring from Arkla Gas. It says, the name Baldy originated back in Amity at the age of 11 when haircuts were 15 cents. And so he and brother Jay exchanged haircuts on each other. And he had to be taken to the barber shop to rectify the deed and had the hair removed from around the cuts and scrapes. The name has stuck since then.
That wasn't an electric razor either, that was
Okay, next comes Ma, and Uncle Jack isn't here yet, I don't think. So Mama, you can go first. Marietta, and
why nobody else did it?
Frank did.
My oldest brother, Jack, is not here yet, he will be here. But I have 2 children, Clint and Hayden. And that's all. There's my little brother.
And this is Uncle Jack's son, Jack Jr.
Around here, Jack Jr. Oh, yeah.
All right, so everybody got my picture right, so it's not So, Barry, my wife's on vacation with a bunch of her friends, oldest daughter Bailey, her husband Alex, Cole Rose, and Liz Marie, and Blair Margaret. And Bailey's name is Teresa's maiden name. Her name is Bailey Madison, Mary Madison, what else side. And then Blair, we just like the name Blair, but she's Blair Marie, and of course, Marie was.
My middle name's Margaret.
Margaret, thanks. Margaret's the other granddaughter. I'm on Marie on that one. Sorry, I got confused. Blair Margaret, and Margaret was Teresa's other grandmother.
Good relationship.
Marie, Margaret, you were almost.
I forgot to tell about my name.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, stand up.
I was named after both grandmothers, maternal and maternal side. Marie was my daddy's mother's name, Etta. And
Your name is Marietta? Now, Uncle Barry, does Barry come from Barentine, or is that just a coincidence?
That's what we always thought, but never saw it.
Unconfirmed.
That's
And then Jack is obviously,
Yeah.
Jackie Neal, I think she did all the
What's that?
I think everything. I think all three of y'all had very intentional things.
Right.
What's your middle name?
Madison.
Madison. You might have said that, sorry. Yeah.
John Murray, you ready? So the baby of the brothers and sisters is Uncle Jack. John Murray's the oldest.
So I'm John Murray. My dad was Jack Womack, and until he was an adult, he thought his actual name was Jack. He was just Jack when he got into the service. We married Morris Anson. He and Maxine, and I guess it was only there for a little bit of Andy. Boarding house, no shoes except a couple times a year. And when Dad was about 13, he moved to the big city of Philadelphia. And for a while lived in a house that Jim Hay bought for Nanny and the kids. And my understanding is that money from that house came from his gambling winnings when he was a little baby. Pretty sure that's true. Probably bought it for $100,000 or whatever it was back then. It was really money. And so, and I was talking about her family, because she came 6 years after she's natural, my parents. Dark hair, brown eyes, I think no one would ever have known that we weren't, biologically connected. But, Dad passed away a couple years ago, so we came for that celebration we had. It was pretty good. And I had two adult children, one's in San Diego, one's in Pittsburgh, where I live. No grandkids on that side yet.
And Ann.
Okay, so I'm Ann, and I mean, this whole clan, I was just teeny when we would all get together, and so this is super special to me. So I have one son, and I didn't realize all the J's in his family, but as you can imagine, it's very fitting that what we're ending with here is a Jack. Just Jack. This is Jack Ford. This is my only son, and he lives in San Francisco. So, love you all.
And my obstetrician was named Jack Ford, and Ann used to work for him.
Okay. Well, that is our introductions. Now we're gonna. Oh wait, no, it's not, because we got our walnut. Okay, Jolie.
I'm Jolie. I was named for both of my grandparents, and there are a lot of grandkids that have Joe in their name somewhere from their grandmother. And Grace was my brother. We always had a great time when we go to our family and see all the family there.
Where'd you grow up, Jolie?
I grew up in a little small place called Briggsville. It's about 40 miles west of Russell. I live in a little rock now.
Rebecca.
I'm Rebecca Rowland. Joel was my grandfather also. My mother was Jo. She was the oldest of his 5 daughters. And I grew up in Murfreesboro and live in Nashville now, Nashville, Arkansas, in Southwest Arkansas. Some of y'all I knew from college. Oh yeah. And always knew Marietta. That's the only ones I've ever known.
His mama was really close to all the girls, all the Womack girls, her first cousins. Okay.
So let's kind of do an overview. Just a reminder, a recap. I know a lot of y'all probably could draw this by heart, and others of us may need a little refresher. Okay, let's do our Womack side first. So Joel Womack married Sarah in 1838. from the Civil War. And he said, I've heard, reports of what's going on in Alabama and that nobody can get food. And Sarah, even if you have to pay $5 or $10 a bushel, I want you to kind of hoard up some corn so that y'all have food to be able to make it through the winter. If this goes on much longer, I'm afraid, of all the people at home are going to die. And he wrote a letter in, I think, 63. So things got more dire after that. That's the only one that I have. And let me say this too. Anything that I have a copy of or whatever, I have, because Nanny went to live with my mom and Pa, and I have a lot of this stuff. So anything you want copies of, happy to share. Okay, so Civil War. Joel was little when the war started, but it shaped him, obviously, as it did everybody in the South. He married Lucinda Walls-Womack, who is Granny Womack. And part of what I would love to hear today is story, because Frank, you were a teenager when she died, so you have memories of being with her. And
right.
I think we need to record some of those down. So.
Well, if you want to record what, what I know, all I can tell you is Granny Woman lived in a 2-room home in Amity. And she lived by herself until she went to one of her friends before she passed away. But how she passed away, she went out to look at the moon. She said, what a beautiful, what a beautiful moon it is. And she walked back up on the front porch, and at that time, the old people or elderly people had heels, and they were only so tall, inch and a half tall. And she had on a pair of heels, and it got caught in a knot hole on the front porch, and she fell and broke her hip. And Uncle Joe, which is Joseph Womack, who lived up, had her,
Next door to Mom and Dad.
yeah, next door to Chicken and Bill. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But he sent her to a home after she was in the hospital, and she died in the hospital of pneumonia. Because I just found out that. But my mother said that she died of loneliness because Uncle Joe took her to the hospital away from wherever she was, and nobody could get to her because not very many of the people had transportation that did. And that was back in 1962, and nobody would come. And Mama said that she passed away of loneliness. But anyway, about her house, I spent, I can't remember how many times, a night in Granny Woman's home, simply because one of the cousins, and her name was Nora also, lived in Amity, and we'd go see that cousin, and we'd spend the night with Granny Woman. And we slept on a big feather bed that she had. And this was, you'd get in it, and me being as young as I was, seemed like it sank to the floor because it was so full of feather bed. And anyway, she had a thunder mug. Now, if you guys don't know what a thunder mug is, it's a toilet underneath our bucket. She had underneath the bed. And I can remember her going to empty the thunder mug and drawing water to wash everything out. She washed and cooked and everything else from that well. And I can remember her at 104 years old going out and drawing water from that well. Hayden, you're about the smallest lady that, no, Becky is. She was smaller than Becky. And she'd go out there and untie that rope, and boy, the hands were more than that far apart every time she grabbed a hold of it. But she would get her own water. She cooked, she had a big cast iron stove, and it had 6 openings in it, so she could eat whatever side she wanted more than the other. She took care of all the wood and everything else. She'd have it brought to the house, but she'd split it even more so she could keep it in that stove.
Linda Dixon, her grandfather was Toe. Henry Toe, yes. Linda wrote me a bunch of stuff about Granny Woman 10 or 12, 13 years ago. And anyway, it's interesting, her recollections too. I think she already had a kid even when Granny Woman died. And she said, "You've seen the clip that's on TV for the Granny role. Outrageous, but just the down-home country way of expressing herself. They spoke King James English in those days. She was always kind, funny, totally unafraid of anything in this world. She was born in 1856, married young. Interestingly, her husband Frank Woman was younger. He must have been just a young teenager when they married. He was a blacksmith. That's where Toby, Joel, and my daddy. Let's see. She, Frank, and Toe came to Arkansas when Toe was a baby. One fascinating story about them having been born to Arkansas. So they were in the Birmingham area in Alabama. They decided to come towards Arkansas because Lucinda and Frank married brothers and sisters. So his little sister married her little brother. And then the 4 of them, plus baby Toe, came to Arkansas together. So when they were on the way, they were fording the Arkansas River in a covered wagon. The mules got spooked and they lost all of their stuff. Imagine being that young and poor and losing everything we had.
Granny Womack also, she walked behind the covered wagon until she got so bad, or her feet were hurt so bad that she couldn't walk, and they put her in the wagon too.
Wow.
So she walked all the way from Alabama to Arkansas. Yeah. Yep.
Is that good in Norman? Norman?
Did they live in Norman?
Norman? That's where they live.
Daddy was,
Yeah,
Oh.
the oldest 2 were born in early.
You said Norman was
It's
called
Norman
Norman.
now. It was Norman now.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what
It's Norman now.
This been a couple times.
Yes, please. The photographer is going to be here in 2 minutes. So, we'll take a break and go get pictures done, I guess, and then we can keep going.
There's a railroad track that goes along downhill down 6th Street. Everybody know what that is, where the train depot was, and east of that was downtown on the downtown. Anyway, one night, Mother, Dad, Margaret, and Toe, and I worked with the 3 of us. Mother, Dad went in front, Toe, and I started. I was told way about that. He was a big man. Probably 2 feet, he was a big man. And I think he even had a cane. I mean, he was not that mobile. Okay, so here's the situation. Here comes a train. Yes, this is the truth, as I'm telling it. And Daddy gets to get this car started. And I guess he couldn't push it because we had so much weight in it. He couldn't, I don't know what, I do not know, it happened so quickly, and it seemed like forever. But anyway, about the time that train got like really close, somehow their cars started, I mean, we were literally just right there. Here comes the train, and then, here we are, there's the track. We literally got just past the track, and then right. And Dad said, what do you think about that on the top? And he said, that's close.
Okay, yeah, Granny Walnut must have been something. Any other Granny Walnut things? Anybody wants to sprinkle in right there? Okay, so they had 4 kids. Uncle Joe born in Alabama, and then the younger 3 were born after they got to Arkansas. Etta, who was Danny, Ruby, then Uncle Joseph. And Uncle Joseph's 5 girls are obviously Jolie, Rebecca, and her, but live next door to I'll call her Maxine. We were talking about that house and the way that it was constructed and the square nails.
The house on Roby Street, which Marietta grew up in and buried Jack. The house was first my mom and dad's house. And they sold it to Uncle Bill, which was their dad. And
that's when y'all moved to Hot Springs.
that's when we went to Magnolia first, because Daddy had gotten a new job with the Arkansas Power and Light. Went to Magnolia, was the lineman, and then he got a new job from there, went to Hot Springs. He became a manager at Arkansas Power and Light. Worked 32 years as an Arkansas Power and Light manager, and that's when Daddy bought the house from a doctor for $5,000 that Mom and Dad lived in, that I was raised in. And that's where everybody met, all the Barentines, because Mama and Daddy would always have everybody for dinner or fish fries and camping and all that other stuff. And everybody knew Mom and Dad's house.
And the shop in the back.
And the shop. Yeah, absolutely.
And that back porch. There was a back porch.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk for a minute over here to the Barentine side. So Alexander Barentine, born in 1817 in Georgia. And the legend is, Bailey, want to tell the legend that Mom told you?
Sure. So, I had to do a heritage project probably 25 years ago. And I called her, because Dad knew that the Barentine side was German. And I called Mom to ask her how they could come over from Germany. And she told me that the story that was told to her was that there were 9 Barentine brothers that had come over on a boat. And the boat crashed. It sunk, and only 3 of them made it to shore in Georgia.
Is that something that y'all heard? Well, he was in all his census stuff is in Georgia. Ain't that cool? He married Tabitha. Yes and no, looks like Mississippi, and then they made it all the way to Arkansas. And Abijah was born in the Pike County area. And he married Sylvia Ann Horrick, and her parents, mom's name was Rebecca, they had a lot of land, farming stuff, shared croppers perhaps. But an interesting story about them is after they got married, Tabitha died. And so Alexander lived with Lige and Celia Ann, and then Celia Ann's dad died, and so her mom, Rebecca, lived with them too. And then Rebecca said to Alexander, well, it'd be a lot easier if we just had to make one bed. So they got married. Father-in-law and other side, mother, they got married. And so there was a different connection there. But they had 11 children together. One of which is Papa, John Alexander Barentine. Okay, now he grows up, gets married to Nora Laverne Jurgen in 1896, and they had 5 kids. So this is where Aunt Effie comes from, the story, beloved Aunt Effie. And then Herbert. Winnie died at 3 months old. Howard, who's Uncle Pete, and then Kurt. So those were their 5 children. When Kurt was 15 months old, Nora died. And Papa had the kids by himself for 4 years before he married Nanny. Nanny was 26 and was an old maid when they got married, but had been good friends with Nora. And the story goes that they left a photo of Nora over their bed until they moved from Amity. So, Herbert, okay, any thoughts, comments here at this point? Can we keep going? Okay, so Herbert, born in 1899, when he was in 1921, well actually, just think about this, the trauma of this happening. So, they got married in 1912. Sissy was born in 1913. Everybody's coming every couple years. Okay, so by 1921, they had a little girl who they named Nora after Papa's first wife. When she was 3 years old, Nora died. And then 2 months later, Papa had cotton gin, sawmill, grist mill. When in September of 1921, the cotton gin exploded and killed Herbert. 2 months after their 3-year-old died. He lost a 3-year-old and a 21-year-old in just a couple of months. Just awful. And Uncle Jack told me that, and I think a lot of y'all probably heard this too, that Papa was never the same after that. He never recovered and died of a broken heart. He didn't die until 9 years later, but I think he died on the inside in 1921. And it's interesting, some of these papers that Andy have over here, it's interesting that there's like just a hole in his business dealings. I mean, there's a lot happening in the late teens, and buying up stuff and loans from people. And then after 21, it just goes dark. And then he starts picking up business activity. And okay, so the explosion was in Womble. So after that, they moved to Amity. And so the younger kids were born in Amity. So they moved to Amity, and then at the end of 28, starting into 29, I guess he decided, okay, we gotta get some stuff going. And so there's all kinds of, y'all need to look at some of the stuff over here. There's all kinds of letters and correspondence that he's trying to buy a new cotton gin. And he was gonna name his company, J.A. Barentine and Sons. And just, you can see that he was getting momentum, 8 years after the accident to get going again. And so.
It was 52, if you look at it.
Yeah,
It was
52, wow.
52 at the time.
When the explosion happened, or
No,
when he started getting
Right, I started back up.
Bring it back up, yeah. And they must have been pretty fluid. I mean, there's a car needed over there. Yeah.
They had electricity. They said some doctors didn't have electricity.
Yeah. Pretty incredible.
He was the millionaire of his time.
It was. It must have been brilliant.
That's what they say. And I don't know whether Nanny told me or Mama told me, Jessie Floyd, that her daddy did die of a heartbreak because of losing Herbert. He was his number one son that took care of everything else, and he said, I just can't take care of it anymore. That's all. I mean, it just said, one of them said he died of heartache.
Awful. And the guilt, that he must have felt that his son was in the gym that he had narrated.
Anyway, 1929.
29.
Start getting the business.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So he's getting the business going. 29, he buys a brand new gin from the biggest gin distributor in the United States, which is in Birmingham. They make solid steel. Birmingham was his steel, Magic City. And he buys this gin for almost $3,000 in 1929. I mean, that's a ton of money. And so the arrangement that they had worked out in this contract over here is he had to pay $917 up front, cash on delivery, and then he was supposed to pay $917 on December 1st, 1929, which remember look what happened in November of 1929, Black Friday, the real Black Friday. So the depression starts, and then 2 weeks later, he's due to pay almost $1,000. And then the last installment was due December 1st, 1930, but probably didn't make it that long. He got appendicitis and went to the hospital to have an appendectomy and died of ether pneumonia, is what the phrase Uncle Jack used, in March, the first week of March in 1930. And so then, all of a sudden, the only kids at home are Uncle Baldy, Mom, and Uncle Jack, and they have this massive loan on them. It's the Great Depression. They go from being the millionaires to nothing. And so to survive, they had to rent out, Uncle Jack said, 2 of their rooms to tenants to be able to have any money to eat and do and have literally anything. Uncle Jack has some interesting recollections about that time and the way that it played out for them. There was a man that owned the newspaper. It was called Amity Owl, and he gave the kids jobs working for him to deliver papers. And he said that's actually how Uncle John got into the typesetting business, was because he had worked for this man at the Amity Owl.
Is that when Uncle Jack joined the army?
He was a teenager.
Oh, okay.
But I guess John Rowe had worked apparently for the same paper into the type.
That's right. Mr. Hunter. And he was the one who would bring them through to Christmas time. So I guess it was just still Baldy, Ma,